You've played the pentatonic box 1,000 times, but if your solo still sounds stuck and predictable, it's because you're missing the hidden patterns woven right into the scale. In this lesson, I'll show you a simple 4-note trick that professional players use to instantly sound fluid, fast, and completely break free from the box. The A minor pentatonic consists of the notes of A, C, D, E, and G. Now, when compared to the notes of the A major scale, this means we have the root, the flat 3 or minor 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the flat 7 or minor 7th before we return to the root. So they are the 5 notes of the pentatonic. Root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. 5 notes, but it's across 6 strings, and that is because the scale repeats in the 2nd octave. Root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, root. Flat 3 on top. A, C, D, E, G, A, C, and A, the root. So first and foremost, be nice and clear on where the root notes are. We have it the 5th fret of string 6, 5th fret of string 1, and the 7th fret of string number 4. So we have an octave, a 6/4 octave shape, 2 frets higher. Now how we go and break out of this box is by splitting it into 3 string pairs. We have the low strings, 6 and 5, we find this shape. We have the middle strings 4 and 3 for this shape, and we have the high string pair with this shape. So these are the minor pentatonic quads, and I like to number these by the starting note and its position in the scale. So this bottom shape, this is a minor quad 1 because it begins on the root. Root, flat 3, 4, 5. On the middle strings we have minor quad 5 because it begins with the 5th note of the scale, the flat 7. And on the high strings we have minor quad 4 because it begins on the 5th of the scale, 5, flat 7, root, and flat 3 on top. Now why we do it in this way is because these string pairs are tuned an equal distance apart. There's what is known as a perfect fourth between strings 6 and 5, and 4 and 3, and 2 and 1. That being the case, that means that these shapes can freely move between these 3 pairs, and they will look identical. For example, this minor quad 1 on the low strings, I could freely move to the middle strings, and I have the same pattern, but there's my root. Or on the high strings, I could do the same thing, but there's my root note. We've got ourselves a shape there, but what we want to be able to do is to stay with the same root. And how we do that is by linking through the 3 octaves. The way that works, we just saw that there was an octave between string 6 and 4. So this is the A, this is the A. If I place my finger 1 on that octave, I can be confident I have minor quad 1. An octave above the low strings. And immediately we've formed the first link between minor quad 5 to minor quad 1. And that will always look the same on each of these 3 string pairs. So if I have minor quad 1 on the low strings, behind that I will always have that minor quad 5. And there's my root note. And what this means then on the high string pair is if this is minor quad 4, above that I will link to minor quad 5, and then look, there is my root note in the 10th fret of string number 2 for minor quad 1. With that then we've linked up 3 of the 5 minor pentatonic quads. Let's just carry on up the high strings and find the other 2. If this was A, C, D, E, root, flat 3, 4, 5, my next quad will begin on the C note, and it will be C, D, E, G, or flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. That's minor quad 2, and then quad number 3 will begin in the 15th fret with the D, E, G, A, 4, 5, flat 7, and root. That then would be found the octave below, as would the minor quad 2 with the open E string. So we get this, quad 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. And those quads will always link up in the exact same way across each of these 3 string pairs. So for example, on the middle strings, the D note, that is the 4th. So I would have 4, 5, flat 7 root of the minor quad 3. And I have quad 4, quad 5, quad 1, quad 2, quad 3. On the low strings, I have the E note, that is the 5th. So that means I'm beginning on quad number 4, right? Quad 4, quad 5, quad 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can take these quads horizontally across a string pair. We can also take them diagonally through the 3 octaves. The most common approach is the 2-3 or the 3-2 sliding minor pentatonic scale. And if we think about it through the quad lens, then we begin on minor quad number 5. Remembering that the root note is under finger number 3 for this. So 1, 3, 1, 3. And then we can slide the whole step into the 5th. And the hand is set up perfectly for quad 5 in the 2nd octave. And again, I can slide up a whole step before I go into quad 5 on the high strings. I could slide into the 5th once more, and where's my root? It's there in the 10th fret of string 2. So as we start doing that, it takes us from the 3rd fret of string 6 right up to the 12th fret of string number 1. Once again. And that approach, that slide into the next note, can work from any of the quads. In fact, so if I were to begin on quad number 1, I could go 1, 4, 1, 3, and then I would slide into the G, that is the flat 7, before I have quad 1 once again. Slide into the G, and I go quad 1. Slide into the G, and resolve up to the root on top. We've just scratched the surface of how to use these patterns to break out of the pentatonic box. If you're ready for the full breakdown, all the exercises, all the shapes, and the complete system behind the pentatonic quads is waiting for you in my Pentatonic Pathways ebook. You can grab your copy right now using the link in the description. Practice well, and I'll see you next time.